Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor gives you sports betting tips. This is Major League Baseball for Friday, April 5th. Maybe your last weekday that's not a holiday with a bunch of day games. So everyone enjoy this one as we are dealing with a bunch of teams, home openers, 4 or 5 of them or so. So we have games throughout the day. So it should be a fantastic day. We're going to have picks on all but probably about, 2/3 of the games here. The other third of games, there's not really a great angle right now. We want to see if the line moves. We want to see the first 5. All of that is over on Dub Club. If you're not there yet, sign up today with that QR code or the link in the show description. You get a free 10-day trial. You get a ton of information, picks when you can't watch the show, run days we were not able to record. So check that out if you have not yet. And I decided to add this slide here, just some reminders. These are kind of the brief things that I used to say at the start of the show. I kind of put them in that little video at the end of the show. I don't know if anybody's actually watching that. And I thought it was good to just quickly refresh, 30 seconds a minute every show here, some of our key principles, especially if you're new. If you're not, then sometimes it's just good to kind of hear the same things over again. It takes us a few times as humans to catch on. And so just some quick reminders here. And I used to have on this thing, I used to have like the scrolling thing, Ron Burgundy, I'm Ron Burgundy. But when I put the slides, it doesn't really work well. So I just put this in here. If you're looking for info about the model or the community rules that govern this place, pickswiththeprofessor.com/new. Reminder, we're projecting the average game. One game, we have no idea what's going to happen. We're focused on the long term, not the short term. We assess everything via probabilities. We expect a 55% winner to lose 9 of 20. We are going to lose some bets. The idea is that we're making picks at the prices such that when we win more than what we lose when we lose on the whole. And that is a good reminder that anything is a good bet at the right price or number. It doesn't matter how bad the team is, how scary it is. At the right price, they're a good bet. Now, are we going to get that right price? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. And that's what we'll talk about with these games here. As a reminder, there are no locks in gambling. As always, take what you like and leave the rest. These are our recommendations. We have faith in the model. But in general, I never want anyone betting anything they are not comfortable with. And if you like the show, that helps us out a lot. It helps other people find us, which helps keep us in business. So we like it when you like it. We'll start off here in the afternoon, 1:05 p.m. Blue Jays and the Yankees decided to pull the trigger last minute on the Yankees there in that last game against Arizona there on the morning update for everyone on Dub Club, as we still had a B-grade pick. Going to be a little more proactive today and just go ahead and jump on the B-grade pick on the Yankees here now overnight, -148. There's really no reason not to at this point. The reason we have the model is to tell us what should the price be? Is there any value with the current number? And honestly, that's why people are successful using this model, because just looking at this matchup, how are you supposed to know if -150 or -160 or -170 or -130 is a good price? Sure, the Yankees are home, they're a good team, but where should you bet it? And that's why we have the model here. It's telling us that the Yankees win this on average 62% of the time. That number, not necessarily precise, but within a few percentage points, probably makes it where this is a reasonably strong play. We're more than likely confident it's a plus expected value play. It's kind of what the B grades imply, that this price should be more like -160. So anything -150 or better gets you to the B grade. -140 or better would get you to the A grade. But the reason I like this, I'm not sure we're realizing just how bad this Blue Jays offense is. Early on in the season, the Marlins are a prime example of this, what they're doing now. The Mets are a prime example of this, what they're doing now on the negative side. The Blue Jays offense, another one. How much do we react? How much do we overreact to that? And that's a question that we don't necessarily have a precise answer to, because every situation is different. When we as statisticians, as modelers, look at these situations, we have historical data to tell us how much should we on average react to it. But that's the thing about averages, is that it doesn't necessarily mean that we're doing it right for every team. If you stick with that average kind of adjustment based off what you're seeing in the early going, on average, you're going to do well. But we understand that means we're going to adjust too slow on some teams and too fast on some teams. Should we be adjusting more on this Blue Jays team? I'm not really sure, but they look terrible. They had 2 out of 3 games against the Astros where they didn't score a single run. And the other game, they had one swing of the bat got them. They had to take one swing of the bat away, and they got goose egged at a 3-game series against the Astros. That's incredible. So the model's not built to overreact, to over-adjust. That's our tendency as humans. So the model's kind of helping, trying to prevent that. That said, maybe we should be overreacting. I'm not really sure. Bottom line is this Yankees offense is solid, and I have a good feeling they're better than the Blue Jays, and they might be better by more than what the model even realizes. So Yankees have a big edge there. They have an edge in the bullpen. They have a strong bullpen, as they've had here recently. The Blue Jays bullpen, not bad, just not great. And then pitching-wise, Marcus Stroman versus Yusei Kikuchi. Stroman, the better pitcher according to the model, according to the underlying metrics. There's really not a lot of debate there. So everything leans Yankees here. Minus 148 is shockingly good value. I'm very surprised. But as I've mentioned before, anytime we can get any value on the Yankees, it's not a bad idea to jump on them. In this case, we very rarely ever see A grades in the Yankees. Them and the Dodgers are the only teams that like basically never happens with, because they're usually overpriced. But B grade value is fantastic. It's one that you might consider even playing as an A grade just because we never can see Yankees value. So I love backing the Yankees here. Very strong play, in my opinion, for their home opener here Friday afternoon. Also at 1 o'clock, A's at the Tigers. Tigers home opener here after a doubleheader the day before in New York. So that's a concern with regards to everyone playing 2 games the day before, bullpen usage, etc. Something to keep an eye on here, but it might be offset a little bit. And probably the reason why they held Skubal back for this game, I have to imagine, was they kind of knew they might be using a lot of arms the day before. And this is hey, we're going to give the ball to our ace. Let's go out and get 7-8 innings and reset our bullpen. And he's a guy you can trust to that. One of the stronger pitchers in baseball. I love Skubal. JP Sears for the A's might be their best pitcher. He's not bad. Pretty respectable pitcher here. He did not look good in his first start. Absolutely gave up a bunch of runs. But we have enough data on him to indicate that I think he'll be okay. You have a slightly pitcher-friendly ballpark there in Detroit, not like it used to be before they adjusted the dimensions out there in center field. But try about 40-degree weather in this one. The wind will be blowing out. That's why that weather adjustment's only minus 9%. If the wind was to be blowing in, it would be massive double digits, but the wind will be blowing out, but the cold's going to matter more than that. And so 2 subpar offenses, 1 decent pitcher, 1 really good pitcher. The A's bullpen doesn't project as terrible right now. They at least now get all their arms back here after all the extra inning games and tight games they played against the Red Sox. Everybody should be available. Tigers bullpen strong, even though they got used a bunch. I don't really see a lot of offense in this one. I kind of see this playing out a little bit like that last game that the A's had against the Red Sox, a little bit like these Tigers-Mets games that just happened. Similar weather conditions. I don't really see any reason to deviate from that. Model says 7.2. We're going to go under 7.5 on this one. It is B grade, C grade, kind of right there at the cusp, depending on the exact odds. Recommend this play, like the under. You can also look first 5 under if you want. It does avoid the Athletics bullpen, which is never a bad idea. Don't know what that number is, but that's another idea for you. But either way, we like the under in this one. And again, kind of see it playing out pretty similar to those Mets games. And you just have to hope you don't have that extra inning fiasco like game 1 had, where if you had the under in game 1, you had under the amount of runs in 9 innings, but they played more than that. So you never know how that plays out. But otherwise, though, when you watched those 2 games in New York here on Thursday, under, you could tell was the right call in both of them. And so I think it's the same situation here, under in A's and Tigers. And then 2:20 p.m. Eastern, Dodgers and the Cubs. Not a home opener for the Cubs, just a normal Friday afternoon game, which they like to do for us, which is nice. I'm going to kind of lather and repeat what I said about the Yankees here. We never get value on the Dodgers. So B grade pick, heck yeah, I'm in. I mean, I kind of, like I said, I'm kind of treating B grades on the Dodgers and Yankees as A grades because we just can't ever seem to find value in it. But this line seems really short to me. I don't quite know why the Cubs beat up on the Rockies, but that was the Rockies. I mean, we called all of that that they should handle them really well. That wasn't surprising. Rockies on the road are one of the worst teams in baseball, if not the worst, right? So, again, I built this model to help us know what good value is, because you look at the shade Dodgers minus 165, is that good value? And sometimes the answer to that is no. They don't win at a high percentage enough time, and baseball's random and anything can happen. And that doesn't mean the Dodgers are locks to win. There are no locks in gambling, but the model thinks they win the 65% of the time, meaning the price should be minus 186. And so minus 165 is a pretty good play here on the Dodgers. Again, I'm really surprised. This is one, grab it early because I don't know where this number's going to go, but I'd be shocked if it gets any better on this. You've got Bobby Miller and Kyle Hendricks. Hendricks has been better at home than on the road, absolutely, but I mean, not great. It's gotten worse. It seems like as time has gone on, this first start was terrible. The underlying metrics kind of confirm that in that first start. Bobby Miller was amazing in his first start. He's a young kid with a pedigree of potential that we've known, and it looks like he's realizing that. The underlying metrics, I mean, his FIP in his first start was 0.15. That's almost impossible to accomplish. His xFIP was under 1. It's almost impossible to accomplish. There's only 6 innings, so I'm not saying, he's, don't pen his name in for the Cy Young at this point. I'm just saying it was a great start. He's got potential. We already thought high of him coming in. Dodgers have the massive edge at starting pitcher. They have an edge at the bullpen. They have a massive edge on offense because their offense is incredible. Like, I just don't get why this isn't higher. I really expected this to be Dodgers minus 200, and I'd be like, I'm not gonna play him at that price, but like, I'm not gonna fade him either, right? But minus 165, yeah, let's jump all over the Dodgers. But as always, folks, remember, do shop around for the best price, even though it's a good price. And one book doesn't mean it can't be a better price somewhere else. Every 5 cents you save helps you out, makes you a more profitable sports bettor. If you haven't signed up with BetUS yet, link in the show description to sign up and receive a 125% bonus on your first ever 3 deposits.
BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook and casino. Live betting and racebook. We're celebrating 30 years with a historic offer. A 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits. Plus 10% gambler's insurance. Get started today. BetUS, where the game begins.
A handful of games at 4 p.m. Rays and Rockies will be the first one. And folks, this is our play of the day. Join us on Dub Club for the play of the day. We have a newly established play of the day package over there. As I mentioned, our friends over at Black Book Sports, unfortunately, are not offering baseball as part of their package anymore. And so just for ease, we're going to have a second package on Dub Club. Same price as what it was over on Black Book, $9.99 a month. For that, and you can sign up on Dub Club to get just the write-up for the play of the day, or you can join the Honor Roll, which is the all-access package, which has that and everything else. Folks, we talked about the Rockies being one of the worst road teams in baseball, having a better home field advantage, but it's everything. It's all about the price. Is the price good enough to love the Rockies or not? What are we doing in this game? If you're with us over in Dub Club, you already know the answer. If not, go sign up today, and you could find out our favorite play here, Tampa and Colorado, to be determined unless you're with a Dub Club, and then you know what it is. But also here at 4 p.m. home opener for the Orioles, or for the Pirates hosting the Orioles. I mentioned I'm hoping Cousin Jared broke the curse, and maybe we can now be friends again, City of Pittsburgh. You started it, but I'm willing to call a truce if you are. That was a good win for us here on the Pirates on Thursday. I'd like to keep it going. I like that ballpark. I'm sporting the Pirates gear here after their win for us on Thursday. Maybe we can be friends again. Come back, come home to us, and we can be friends again. I'm not going to pick a side, though. I'm going to pick the under 8.5 on this one. Be a great pick. I don't like under 8.5s. I don't. It feels wrong. It feels like you're going to get, lose on the hook. Obviously, that's not always the case. 9 only happens so often. But, kind of the same things we've been saying here in April. Most of this weather in the country, especially in the northern part of the country, is just, it's not great. 40-degree weather at the start, 40-degree weather finish. Wind will be blowing out, but the temperature is going to matter more than the wind. You got some decent pitching here. For the Orioles, Grayson Rodriguez looked phenomenal in his first start. I mean, you can't not be high on a guy like that. These bullpens are both really good. The Pirates bullpen looks great. Orioles bullpen looks great. Jerry Jones gave up some runs in his first start, but the underlying metrics were really promising. A 101 grade for a rookie, that's not bad. for a guy who, only made the one major league start. I don't think he's pitched in the majors before. I think that was his debut this last time out. I'm fairly optimistic for a rookie about him. Orioles offense is solid for sure, but the model projects 7.6 runs. I tend to agree that 7's the most likely outcome here. Unfortunately for us, 9 is probably the next most likely, but then the next most likely would be 8. So 2 of the 3 most likely outcomes get us winners on this one. So it's a little juiced, -120, but still worth the investment here for the Pirates. We think under 8.5. Would love a 9, but it's not worth the juice to pay because this game could have 3 runs or 13, and you don't want to ever pay too much juice. So another way to look at this would be play 8 at better odds. You can shop around and look for that if you want, but under makes a lot of sense. Again, is 7, I think, is the most likely. How can you play an alternate total under 7.5 and get plus odds? Might be another way to look at it here, but good weather spot, good pitching. I like the pitching in this one. This type of pitching in 40-degree weather, I think it's going to bode well for us. So under there. Then the last afternoon game, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, Padres the Giants. Home opener for the Giants here, I think, at least. It's hard to keep all this straight. No pick on this one right now. The model would tell us, if I'm thinking about this correctly, the model would kind of lean us to the under. It would lean us to the Giants. I'm not sure I love that. I don't love fading Dylan Cease. Now, Jordan Hicks looked great in his first start, so that's optimistic. But I mean, Cease has got a history of being a very good pitcher, so I don't love going Giants, and that's where the model would again lean us to. Here, lean us to the under. I don't think the under's a bad look. Here's the issue: that the Padres relievers grade out a 113. The top guy's 117, and so maybe only the top guys matter because Dylan Cease is a great pitcher. So you just say only the top guys. 117. The Giants' top guys are 96, but Hicks is not a guy that I have confidence in to go 7-8 innings at this point. Maybe he gets there, but since he's been a reliever and all the injuries and everything, he went 5 his first start. I could be wrong, but against a solid Padres offense, I feel like 5's like going to be mostly what we get from him. I don't think we're going to get a lot of deeper starts. And the overall Giants relievers grade out of the 123. Again, higher is more runs. These relievers are terrible for major league standards for competing teams. I mean, these are the types of relievers you would expect to see on, teams like the Rockies and teams like the, whoever's else competing, I guess the Mets at this point, or the Nationals or whatever, right? Not teams that are, trying to make the playoffs here. So it's a little surprising. So maybe you like the first 5 under better. We don't have that market yet. So again, I just want to see what that is, what that number is. Maybe one has more value than the other. So this is one where we'll have probably a play on this in the morning for people in Dub Club as part of that morning update that comes at you each and every day. But for now, holding off, as I probably would go under if I had to, but I don't really want any part of these bullpens. So maybe first 5 under. We'll see what the price is, if the price is good enough to jump on tomorrow. 6:40 p.m. Eastern, Mets at the Reds. Mets, I guess, finally came through. We can get a win here at the end of the second game there in the doubleheader. Same thing we've been talking about all day, though. Cold, upper 30s for this one. So you're talking about really cold weather. The Reds bullpen can be an issue, of course, but I mean, the Mets can't seem to hit off anybody. So we're going to go under 9 on this one. B grade at -105. Model projects 8.7. The most likely outcome is 9, and you push. But then it's more likely to be 7 or 8, than 8 slightly more likely than 10, and 7 slightly more likely than 11. And so that's why this is a reasonable look, especially at -105 is the underplay here. Same situation we've had before. Wind will be blowing out, but the good news for us is that the wind is going to die down as the night goes along. So early in the game, the ball isn't going to fly because it's cold, but the wind might push it a little bit. And if you really get a hold of it, you still got a chance for a home run. But as the night goes along and that wind dies down, you're not going to be able to hit the ball very far on this. So very hitter-friendly ballpark. As you can see, a 12% adjustment based off of the park, then a -15 based off the weather. But that park adjustment is mainly more so you'll see that in the summer than in the spring and fall months. That park can play real small when it's hot and wind blowing out, but that's not the conditions you have here tonight. So that's the kind of the average condition. but it's kind of the opposite of that here. So under 9 makes a lot of sense. Jose Quintana and Hunter Green, both guys looked okay in their first start. Both guys are okay in general, but in general, I don't really like either one of these offenses to get a ton of runs. Reds bullpen, the only problem, but I'm trusting the Mets offense to not do much and keep us under 9 in Cincinnati. 6:45 p.m. Eastern, Phillies and the Nats. A couple different ways you can look on this one. My favorite play is going to be backing the Phillies at the -1. Again, as I'm always reminding you, you can create the -1 market if your sportsbook does not offer it by betting to win a number on the money line and then risking that on the run line. And that's what we're going to do here on the Phillies to make the price a little bit better. We're going to do it in the next game as well in order to help out our pricing. -146 is the implied odds. When you do that, on this one, makes it an A grade on the Phillies. Aaron Nola, an 86 grade might be the worst grade I've seen Sideline give him. He's been a very good pitcher, but maybe a little bit down last year, maybe a little bit of concern. Did not look very good his first start. Underlying metrics were very mixed bag, but Patrick Corbin is still Patrick Corbin and not very good. So again, as we've been mentioning a lot, kind of it's a low bar, really. Aaron Nola doesn't have to be great, and he's had some ups and downs based off home road stuff. He doesn't have to be great. He's just going to be better than Patrick Corbin, and that's a pretty low bar. I trust that even if Nola struggles, this could get to be into a few more runs, a higher scoring game. And at that point, I trust the Phillies bullpen more than the Nats bullpen. I trust the Phillies offense more than the Nats offense. Not that the Phillies have the best offense or best bullpen. They're both solid. Just this Nats team isn't very good still. We'll be talking about that a little bit, that I just trust the Phillies to get the job done here. And we're laying a little bit of a price. If the Phillies win by 1, who cares? But we're laying a little bit of a price for this. But I think I trust them the most in this one. It's another weather under spot based off of the temperature. And that's where the model would tell us to go. I'm not in love with the under simply because, number one, we're having to lay some juice to get the 9, or we're not getting the 9. And so I don't really love that. And again, I'm not convinced. I mean, this should be like 5-2 Phillies. But if Nola struggles, Corbin could struggle. This game could be like 3-3 after 4. And then you're really holding your breath on the under. So I think the Phillies, my more favorite play here. And again, going to that -1 helps our odds a little bit. If you're going to play anything on the run line that's not crazy with the Phillies being the road team, they will for sure get that 9th at bat. But I like this minus. We played it a few times here, and it's gotten us a push a couple times as well. So a couple games already where if you played the money line, you'd have won, but if you played the run line, you'd have lost. And so, again, that's just kind of going to be the way it is. Find something you like. I like this -1 personally. If you want to stick to money lines, stick to money lines. If you want to stick to run lines, stick to run lines. If you, and we've talked about this a little bit on Discord, if you're a person who likes to play a few parlays, don't do too many of them. Remember all of our principles. A pick is not a good pick just because you put it in a parlay. If it's a bad pick by itself, it's a bad pick in a parlay. But Phillies money line, Braves money line parlay, that's probably going to get you close to even money. Isn't the craziest thing either, because we also love the Braves here. This Diamondbacks team isn't bad. They just start off with a tough little stretch here, getting the Yankees and the Braves right off the bat. Spencer Strider, best pitcher in baseball. Tommy Henry, not good. The Diamondbacks have some good pitching. Ryan Nelson's a guy that people are a little bit high on. Brandon Pfaadt, strong at the end of last year. Of course, everyone knows about Gallen and Kelly. Tommy Henry got shellacked in his first start. The underlying metrics aren't promising. His projections coming into the season aren't promising. It's a massive mismatch here, starting pitcher. The Diamondbacks offense isn't bad, but the Braves offense is better. The Diamondbacks bullpen isn't bad. Braves bullpen's better. It's in Atlanta. The model says the Braves won this 3 out of 4 times, and this should be a massive. They should be massive favorites. They are massive favorites in this, but by playing the -1, we still have a grade. It's -201. It's really steep, folks. Here's just a thing to remember is that when we get into a sport like baseball, everything is always about, does the team win or cover at a higher probability, at a high enough probability to offset what you're paying? And the answer to this one is, yeah, I think with Spencer Strider at home against Tommy Henry specifically, they play this game 10 times and the Braves might win 8 of them. We might have one of those 2 that loses, but just because it's minus 200 doesn't mean it can't have value. We don't want to play every minus 200 team. That would not be very smart. But again, we built a model to tell us when should we play minus 200s? When should we play plus 200s? For now, this is just a big enough mismatch. The Diamondbacks aren't a bad team. It was a great run last year. I think they're going to be a fun team to back. They're a young team, absolutely. This is just not a good matchup for them on the hill. And that's what's going to make this a really steep mountain for them to climb. It doesn't mean they can't win. It just means that the Braves, even though you're laying minus 200 to take Braves minus 1, it's still a pretty smart investment. And again, favorites can be smart investments, dogs can be smart investments, and both can be terrible investments. And this one, we think the Braves is a good pick here to risk 2 units to win 1. Everything's ROI based, so we're not just taking favorites to pad the win loss, because I don't care at all about winning percentage. We care about units, right? And that's what we're trying to make here. So this is one where I'd be more inclined to put the Braves in a moneyline parlay, one moneyline parlay that you like. Don't put it in every moneyline parlay you do, because that overexposes you. But would care less for the run line in this one, because if it is a low-scoring, tight contest, the Braves up by 1 late will not be batting in the bottom of the ninth. So they could win by 1, so that minus 1 does offer us a little bit of push protection and some value. It is going to be a chilly night because it's going to be cold everywhere, because that's what happens in early April. Mid 50s, low 50s to start, upper 40s to finish. A big downward weather adjustment and great pitching for Atlanta. So, I mean, this game could easily be, 4-2 Braves late. And then how concerned are they from preventing that third run in? Or are they just trying to get out of the inning? I don't really know. On average, the Braves win by more than a run, but that minus 1 there, because the Braves are the home team, I think makes a lot of sense to stick with. 7:40 p.m. Eastern, White Sox and the Royals. No pick on this one. As of right now, we have double D grades, which is definitely not sexy, folks. On this one, nothing really good on the side or the total. It is Eric Fetty and Brady Singer. Fetty looked good in his first outing, good-ish, good for Red Sox or White Sox standards, I guess. Underlying metrics, mixed bag, projects out to be below league average. Brady Singer looked great in his first start. It's only 1 start, but he's a guy who had a really down year last year after a really good year the year before. So definitely a guy I've got my eye on, because he's a guy who at his peak probably graded out close to an 80, which is pretty impressive, but just kind of kept getting worse and worse last year as he struggled all season, but looked great in his first shot. Let's see if he can keep that going again against the White Sox offense. It's not very good. He should have that opportunity. The Royals win this, according to Sideline, 62% of the time. The issue is they are pretty big favorites. So as I've mentioned before, I'm not dying to take the White Sox unless the value is there. The value is not there. So at this point, I could not take the White Sox. That doesn't mean the value is there for the Royals. This is a 4-game series, and you just be careful, because if you're playing the Royals at a price like, minus 180, 3 of the 4 games, and they, whatever, all 4 games and they split or something accidentally, then you've lost a lot of money. So it's just not a great price. This Royals team isn't good, but the Royals are favored and they should win. I'm just, like I said, we're not going to play for favorite. This is a favorite I just don't love backing. Fading the White Sox, though, makes a lot of sense. So a couple of different ways you can kind of look at it. It's just right now the prices are for me. We'll see what the first ride market offers. Maybe we'll have a pick tomorrow, but for now, nothing really to love about that one. 8:05 p.m. Eastern, Astros at the Rangers, rematch of the ALCS here. We're going back the Astros at minus 126. Just ekes into C grade values. The model says they win 56% of the time. I mentioned this last time. I'm a believer in Hunter Brown. I'm a believer in he looked great at the start of last season. He struggled down the stretch with fatigue, throwing more innings he'd ever thrown before. You could see it in the underlying metrics. He talked about it. He talked about getting in better shape this season or this offseason, plus throwing all those innings. I think he's going to have a great year. Looked really good his first start. I'm a believer in him. I think we want to back him as much as we can if there's any sort of value early on. It's really that simple. Otherwise, when you look at it, this Astros offense is a lot better, at least as of right now. The Rangers dealing with a couple injuries. They're good against left-handed pitching. They're very right-handed heavy, and the lefties that they have hit lefties really well. So I have ultimate confidence in the Astros facing a lefty. And again, I'm a big Hunter Brown fan at this point. So really, it's just any value on the Astros with Hunter Brown pitching, I want to take advantage of until the market really adjusts and we say, there's just no way I can back him because the price is too steep. I'm sure that is coming. I don't think it's here yet. So smaller than the Astros, but one I think that's worth playing is they win 56% of the time, making minus 127 just good enough for us to play. 8:10 p.m. Eastern, Mariners and the Brewers, a cold one in Milwaukee, but they will be able to close the roof, so that'll at least help. And they do have heating, I guess, in there. They don't have air conditioning, so in the summer it can get hot and the ball can fly. But in the winter, they can at least close it and keep it cooler, or keep it warmer, which helps. Right now, the model projects 7.4 runs. The total is 7, and it's juiced to the over. I think the total's hung perfectly. I mean, this is exactly where I would hang it, at 7 with juice to the over. Brewers win this 54% of the time according to the model. It's priced. They're at minus 120, 122, 125 right now-ish. It's priced perfectly, in my opinion. This is exactly where I put it. We'll see what the first 5 market offers. Maybe we'll have a pick on it tomorrow. But for now, I don't really see any value. Logan Gilbert and Freddie Peralta both looked really good their first time out. They're good enough pitchers. These offenses are questionable enough. These set of relievers are good enough that I don't love playing the over, especially in a park that all of a sudden went from being a more hitter-friendly park to the last year or two, it started to look a lot more pitcher-friendly. So I'm not dying to take this over. In fact, if it was 7.5, I'd probably go under. Problem is, how much juice would you have to lay for it? And I wouldn't really be worth laying any juice. So it's one of those things where, again, this is why we have the model. I mentioned it before. We have the model because, it says, hey, there's value on the Yankees and the Dodgers. I'm like, heck yeah, let's do it. We have the model here because my first inclination looking at this game is this park's been a little more pitcher friendly. You got 2 pitchers that I like that have looked good. You've got 2 decent bullpens. You've got questionable offenses. Let's go under. And the model projects 7.4 and the number 7. And so the model's kind of telling us, like, yeah, there's just not a lot of value. This may not be a profitable long-term play. So to me, it's like my mind says under or pass. The model says you need 7.5 and you don't need to be laying a bunch of juice. And right now, if you playing 7.5, you'd probably have to lay, minus 125 or something like that. That wouldn't be worth it. So we'll see. Maybe the number moves. If we can get under 7.5 at a reasonable price, I'd play that. Right now, that's not what we're looking at. We'll see what the first side market offers in the morning, and we'll have that update. But we do have a play on the late game for you here, 9:38 p.m. Eastern. Red Sox and the Angels. A chilly night in Anaheim. Chilly everywhere across the country, about 50 degrees for this one. But the weather adjustment here is big because, 50 degrees would be better for a lot of the places in the country. For Anaheim, that's pretty cold. We don't typically see that. So this is a park that can play fairly hitter-friendly in the summer months, especially in the late summer when it can get kind of hot in the Los Angeles area. But this being this cold here early in the season is going to make it pretty pitcher-friendly. Otherwise, though, you have a pretty average setup game here. I mean, you have 2 offenses that are, are right around average. The Angels a little bit on the right side of it. 2 starting pitchers, you can see on screen, pretty average in Cutter Crawford and Griffin Canning. Canning struggled in his first outing, but overall, I don't think he's as bad as that. Crawford looked great his first outing. He's probably not as good as that. So pretty washed there. The Angels bullpen's a concern for sure. And so maybe you look first 5 here. I like the push protection on 9. We are having to lay a little bit of juice with here at minus 120, but be great for under 9 as the model projects 8.4 runs. Like I said, I would not be going under 8.5 on this one. If all you have at your disposal is 8.5, or by the time you're looking at this to play a 9, you've got to lay like minus 130, minus 135 or something ridiculous. That's when I looked at the first side market. Avoiding the Angels bullpen is never a bad thing. So it's another way to look at this, but under makes a lot of sense. This is going to be maybe the most pitcher friendly night at Anaheim all season. You don't get many games like this. You typically in Anaheim are going to be seeing upper 50s, low 60s is a cool night, mid 60s, is kind of your average, and maybe upper 60s average night. And then once you get to summer, you start seeing a lot of 70s and 80s in there. You just don't typically see. Here I've got an ending temperature, a last 3 innings temperature of 49. You don't typically see a lot of that in Anaheim. So under 9 in this one. These offenses are decent, but you saw the Red Sox had a couple times where they kind of sputtered in Oakland. They can kind of sputter here as well in these types of conditions. So models approaching 8.4 are going to finish us up with an under. As a reminder, sign up on Dub Club Play of the Day. If you want just that, you can get just that for a little bit cheaper, or you can get a 10-day free trial to see all the things that we give you, all the summaries, all the picks, all the everything, all the starting pitching change updates. Don't think we're going to have any today, but we already had a couple of those early this week, and it will happen more and more and more. And of course, our Discord chat group where we have a great community of people over there. That sign up link is in the show description. If you're already with us, thank you so much. And as always, best of luck. And remember, you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.